Dannels, who you'll hear from in a moment, Associate Dean for Research and Engagement, Tom Birkeland, Senior Vice Provost Tom Miller, and my colleagues in the Entrepreneurship Alliance, members of our advisory council, donors, friends, and family members of our students. Thank you for taking time out of your busy days to be with us. Your presence means so much to me and to our students. This fall, 30 students were selected from a very competitive pool of candidates to embark on a journey to learn effective change-making skills. Unique to most of their experiences on campus, this is not a journey in pursuit of answers, but rather a practice of learning what questions need to be asked. Questions such as, what barriers hold a problem in place? What role can I play in addressing the problem? How are problems interrelated? And what can I learn from the most impacted? Social Innovation Fellows are encouraged to challenge assumptions, unlearn patterns, and hold space for angst and ambiguity. As is customary, we're taking a few minutes this evening to share what we've learned together, reflect on personal growth and aspirations, and celebrate completion of a semester marked by hard work and, frankly, very impressive dedication, as our fellows receive no credit or financial incentive to participate. And as if this work was not difficult enough, we made it even harder this year by pivoting to align with our campus allies and lean more heavily into the UN Sustainable Development Goals as a guiding framework, offering students an even larger and more complex landscape to explore and develop their problem-solving skills. To be clear, tonight's presentations are not about achievements and solutions. Rather, we are squarely in the discover phase of the program where we have one directive, and that is to fall in love with the problem. So imagine for a moment the challenge that our students have. Join a small team of peers from different backgrounds, class years, and programs. Engage effectively with a returning fellow, a team mentor, and a community partner. Participate in weekly meetings and monthly innovation labs, all on top of an already busy schedule to tackle one of the world's greatest problems. As we say in my house, this is a lot. There are many unrecognized champions who hold up our students and affirm the value of this work, and for whom I am most grateful. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our program's amazing group of 6 team mentors who you will hear from tonight, who behind the scenes provide hours of guidance, assurance, expertise, and direction. They are an absolute essential extension of our campus resources. And there are others, our returning fellows, our community partners. We value each and every one of you. So to kick off this evening, I am really pleased to introduce the newly appointed Dean of the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, Deanna Dannels, to say a few words. Dean Dannels.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am so pleased to be here and so pleased to learn more about this program, and what an incredible achievement you all have made. These 6 teams who, on top of every other demand, and I know you've got a lot of demands, your academic demands, your other extracurricular activities, you have committed countless hours to becoming our next generation of change leaders. And I'm so impressed and so proud of the work you've done on this. I know you're working in partnership with a number of different constituents, our faculty, our nonprofit leaders, our industry experts, and I know you're doing so with this major challenge to connect to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. I mean, that's a lot for a tenured professor to handle, and you all are handling it beautifully and representing this university so well. You've established the NC State Social Innovation Fellows has really established itself as a campus leader. I can't tell you how many times I'm engaging on campus and someone brings up this program. You are a campus leader in offering the students an opportunity to have a learning experience that engages them with the community, that allows you to dive deeply into very complex problems, and that really kind of plants a seed for young, passionate change makers year after year after year. And I am always so proud when someone brings up a story to me or shares with me an experience that they've heard from this program. And it's just so proud to have really watched this program grow over the time. You know, the university has released its next set of strategic priorities, WOLPAC 2030. And one of these priorities is really focused on tackling complex problems and problems that can only be solved through multidisciplinary relationships and an entrepreneurial approach. We have a number of partnerships in academia, in industry, in government, in the community, in nonprofit. And this program is emblematic of those partnerships. They're here right on campus, they're across the state and around the world. And it's through these innovative partnerships that we align so beautifully with the university's strategic plan and priorities. And this really is a program that we can uphold as having already started to tackle this strategic priority. It's also a priority for me as a new dean. Interdisciplinary impact and community engagement is incredibly important to me. I've told a number of people, I've got a map of North Carolina on my wall in my office with all 100 counties labeled on it. I want to stick a pin in every county and say we have engaged with the community, we have helped them solve problems, and I want to expand that. I don't mind having a map of the world. We'll start with North Carolina, but this is the kind of program that really does speak to something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is these interdisciplinary partnerships and this community engagement. It also offers the students here a high impact, hands-on experience that I know for many can be life-changing, and that can instill the transferable skills and habits of mind and inquiry that can be taken into a number of different contexts, which is another real priority for me, that we really help foster students' competencies that are transferable and that can make a difference in the world, in academia, and in the workplace. We're wandering through these different COVID phases. Leaders in all these phases, regardless of where they are, will necessitate the ability to be flexible, to be empathetic, to work in diverse teams, to have a creative mindset, to understand problems deeply, and to really approach problems systematically and with a real attention to issues related to justice and equity. And this is a program that fosters those skills and that I'm so proud to hear about as I work with the leaders of this program. All of you are change makers. The students here, you are change makers. And we believe that any student who comes to NC State can be a change maker, can be an entrepreneur, can be an engaged citizen. And I'm so proud to hold this program up and say, look what we have here. And look what all of our students can aspire to, whether it's within the College of Humanities and Social Sciences or across the university. We have a growing, robust entrepreneurial ecosystem. It's one that I hope our college participates in on an ongoing and increased basis, because I think we have a real contribution to make. And we've earned national recognition and ranking. The Social Innovation Fellows is a great example of how we we really teach our students that not only can you succeed and do well, but you can do good. And so I'm so proud to be here. I am proud to learn of all the work you have put into this. I congratulate all of our student teams for the hard work you've put in difficult times. And to our partners who are on this call, I thank you for your partnerships. And I look forward to working further with this program and with others to really expand our college's footprint in the community as entrepreneurs in North Carolina and across the world. So thank you and congratulations to all of you.
Thank you so much, Dean Dannels. We can't say enough how pleased we are that you are assuming this leadership role, and we look forward to building an even greater vision under your watch. And we're really excited for the potential for that. So your words mean a lot and your presence tonight means a lot. And we thank you for being with us. Okay, so this is how things are going to roll tonight. And I see so many friends on here I'd like to say hello to. I'm so glad Professor Lou's here and others. It's so good to see you all. But this is how things are going to go. Each of our 6 teams has 8 minutes to share their learning journey, and each will be introduced by their team mentor. Following the presentations, we'll hear from the chair of our advisory council, Clare Jordan, and Alicia Bryce, our program manager, will close the event promptly at 7:30. So thank you again for joining us. Throw up questions or comments in the chat if you wish. And I think you'll be inspired by the work of our students that you'll hear tonight. So I am going to get started, and our first team up is Zero Hunger with team mentor Andrew DeMeo.
Wow, these are some tough acts to follow. While the Zero Hunger team is pulling up their slides, I'll just say that every year, year after year, the Social Innovation Fellows have changed my life. They've changed the direction of my own life and have me looking at, how I'm going to impact the world differently. And I got to thank the students for that. This particular year, meeting the team with Zero Hunger, they've just had so much leadership that it's been impressive to me. On the very first day that I met them, we had an in-person lab, and I got right in the middle and started doing what I do, like teaching, and they all pushed me out and got together in a circle and began brainstorming together as a team. And they're just the most independent, self-directed team that I've had the pleasure of working with. And I really look forward to seeing their presentation tonight and sharing that with you and where we go in the spring. So without further ado, Team Zero Hunger.
All right, hey y'all. So we're Team Zero Hunger, and if we go to the next slide, y'all can see all of our beautiful faces. So I'm Talia. We have Tafi, Lacey, and Hadi with us, and then of course we just spoke with Andrew, and then our senior fellow is Jill. So we worked with the Sankofa Farms and partnered with the doctoral student Kamal. And what we kind of did was have like weekly meetings on Wednesday, kind of checking in online and offline to make sure we were all aware of what we were doing, connected with our community anchor outside of the labs, and tried to brainstorm different phases that we could go through with this. And then, okay, so for Zero Hunger, this is just some information about Zero Hunger. 1 in 5 children face hunger. So nearly 690 million people are hungry, or that is 8.9% of the population. So working with our community partner was really important because he focused more on children and underserved communities. North Carolina has the 10th highest rate of food insecurity in the nation. So it's just kind of nice to work with this. And then we had 23.5 million people who live in food deserts was another one of the stats we pulled because of this next slide, where we actually looked at our we did a little bit of mapping. So if we can go to that. So we kind of started with one central question of just like, why are people hungry? So we had to dive into things like, what is hunger and where is the food? What's wrong with the food? If there is food, is it the fact that it's like not sustainable or nutritious? Is it a distance thing, an access thing? Where are the hungry people? How are people hungry? You know, what are they really missing in their diets? And then what solutions could exist with this and why aren't they working? So the takeaway is that this problem is big and impacts a lot of people.
And then we worked on our stakeholder mapping. So with Zero Hunger, we identified the different persons involved that impact Zero Hunger and Sankofa Farms in particular. So while we were in our in-person labs, we all had sticky notes to be able to show who our stakeholders were that were connected to this. So we clustered into who was hungry, who could help the hungry people. So we came up with farmers and so many other different ones. They're kind of hard to see, but those who support those helping the hungry, which includes donors, Airbnb guests. The farm has an Airbnb and then those who work against the hungry, and that would what we identified as politicians. Yeah.
Specifically with Sankofa Farms, we were able to meet with them outside of the lab and really understand, all of the different services that they're providing. They have a nonprofit arm in addition to being an LLC, and it's located in Cedar Grove. They've experienced a lot of growth. They have 12 beehives, 12 greenhouses, and then in addition to all of this, they do Airbnb experiences of touring the farm. They distribute food, hold speaking engagements, and they also have a fresh farm stand in their neighborhood, in Kamal's neighborhood, who owns Sankofa Farms. And also there's a mentorship students program for African-American boys. And as you can see there in the picture at the bottom right corner.
So like most of you all, we focused on applying our concepts that we learned in our labs to our weekly meetings and just kind of discussing our problems. So first one, human-centered design. As we discussed in our weekly meetings, like we didn't really try to come up with a design quickly because we were really just trying to get to know the issue, but we tried to discern like keeping the human at the center of the design process, and that includes those being served by whatever process or good we were going to come up with in the future, and also those who are helping us produce that good and making sure that we're taking in every human that's involved in the process and putting them at the center of whatever our design process will be moving forward. And then also with the empathy workshop, which was my favorite lab particularly, we used that, I think, even before we had this lab, and then continuing after, while working with everyone in the team, making sure that we had an empathetic ear with any of the problems we were facing just in our life or when thinking about issues surrounding the actual SDG. But also when thinking about, also when just thinking about the people that will actually be impacting, hopefully moving forward in the next semester. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. And so we did do one stakeholder interview this semester. We were hoping to do two, but the one that we got so far was at a food bank that I've been volunteering at this semester. It's at Catholic Parish Outreach Food Bank, and they address zero hunger by providing families with 2 weeks worth of groceries each month. And I've been going in there weekly, helping them on some projects, and then also helping them with their distribution. And from that experience, and also with the one-on-one interview that I had with my supervisor, we were able to gain more perspective on waste management, chain of food distribution, nutrition and health, and informational outreach. So all of that will be used moving forward as we go into the design phase for our SDG.
And so taking into account what Lacey just shared about our different labs that we've gone through, we wanted to think about how can we apply these concepts, specifically thinking about zero hunger. And so what we thought was interesting is, in answering the question, how can we end global hunger with design thinking, and how can, using design thinking be used to our advantage? IDEO has actually come out with specific questions about how to think about eliminating hunger in the context of human-centered thinking. And there's also been more work that's been done in thinking about how can we make sure that food and nutritional professionals are also, using human-centered thinking, but also empathetic thinking. And so we thought this was a really good example of using empathetic thinking in the context of zero hunger. There's this challenge called the SNAP challenge, where you try to see if you can survive off of how much money it takes, how much money people who are given SNAP benefits have. And this was a blog that someone who was doing the challenge shared. And, going back to our initial system mapping, where we thought about, what makes food nutritious, if the person specifically mentioned, finding nutritious and vegan and vegetarian food was a lot harder. And, these kind of experiences allow us to be more empathetic to people who are in situations of experiencing zero hunger. And so just to close off, we wanted to speak about, we've been connected with a student from Sankofa Farms, and Talia is going to kind of take the lead on interviewing that student for a second stakeholder interview. And we also hope to tour the farm in person, as we've spoken to Kamal about in the past. And then based off of our stakeholder interviews and kind of our conversations with Kamal, our community anchor, we've kind of spoken about two potential project ideas, one focusing more on zero hunger indirectly, and looking at building an educational curriculum, because people who maybe suffer from experiencing zero hunger, kind of all leads back to education, is what we learned through our discussions. And then secondly, based off of discussions with Kamal and also CPO, how can we focus on optimizing distribution channels to kind of overcome challenges that are being experienced? Thank you.
Thank you, Team Zero Hunger. And I'm really super proud of your work. And I have to give a shout out to Lacey, who joined us from the airport because her parents surprised her. Lacey, you can tell the story.
Oh, sorry. I apologize for the awkward angle and anything you had in the background. But my birthday was yesterday in New York to see the lighting of the Rockefeller Christmas tree. So I'm sitting in the airport right now.
Well, that's dedication. And I just really appreciate that you still made it tonight, Lacey. Thank you and have a great trip. Okay, great job, team. I want to move on to the next team, which is decent work and economic growth. And our team mentor is Jamal Pullen.
Thanks, Elizabeth. As Elizabeth said, our team is decent work and economic growth. I see the team evolving along with their community anchor, Karma Wallet. Karma Wallet's a new company, and our team is figuring out how the community anchor fits into the research and understanding of the goal that they have. And in the last conversation with the community anchor, I really saw a light come on. There were several questions that the team had pulled together in their own meeting and had questions, and they talked with the community anchor. The community anchor said, yeah, I've answered a bunch of those questions. We just posted something in our How It Works section, and we all went and looked at that, and I think within a day or two before, they had just posted a lot of these same questions. So I saw the team kind of pull together and say, I think we're kind of going on the right path with this. So it's been fun watching them this far, and looking forward to the next semester. And with that, I will turn it over to Olivia.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. Good evening. We are the team that's focusing on decent work and economic growth. My name is Olivia De Jesus, and I am majoring in international studies and political science.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Vedant Dori, and I'm a senior in I'm majoring in computer science and minoring in business administration.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shane Fogarty, and I'm majoring in architecture, and I'm a sophomore.
Hello, my name is Grace. I am majoring in philosophy and environmental engineering. Hi, everyone. My name is Lily, and I'm a senior majoring in economics and business administration.
And I am Leah Flanders, the Senior Fellow for Decent Work and Economic Growth, and I will hand it back to Olivia to get us started.
Okay, so just for a quick overview of what we're going to be covering today. First of all, we're going to go over what decent work and economic growth is. Then we'll move on to our systems thinking, understanding some of our stakeholders that we identified. Moving on to human-centered design, we're going to look at one of our stakeholder interviews with our community anchor, Jan from Karma Wallet. And then we'll be looking at our empathetic thinking and some steps moving forward. So to start us off, the aim of SDG number 8 is to promote sustained, inclusive, and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment, and decent work for all, according to the United Nations. So the terms decent work and economic growth can be kind of vague and mean different things in different contexts. So I'll explain a little bit about the criteria in which our group is going to use to define and discuss them. So first of all, decent work. We identified 4 criteria that needed to be met. Number 1, safe working conditions. So this usually refers to tools, machinery, or like equipment that one uses at work, but it can also include feeling safe in the environment and around the people you work with. Second of all, fair and equitable benefits and salary. So the decent work is not just about safety, but it also entails an individual making enough money to support themselves and their family, as well as take care of their physical and mental health. Third, proactive measures. So employers should take proactive measures to ensure that these criteria are being met. And this would constitute, good communication with employees, asking for feedback on what can be done better, having managers be available for their employees, as well as educating and enforcing regulations on things such as harassment in the workplace and other company policies. And lastly, personal development opportunities. So employers should also invest in their employees by providing them with chances to grow in their field or expand their knowledge by offering professional development opportunities such as things like workshops, certifications, or trainings. So economic growth has a couple different ways it can be defined, some of which are listed here. GDP is probably the criteria that everyone first thinks of when measuring economic growth, but it can also be seen as just generally the increase in production of goods and services. And it's important to note that this is in relation to time. So it's often asked how much a country has grown economically over a span of, say, 10 or 20 years, for example. So this quote is from the 2021 UN Sustainable Development Report, detailing some of the effects that COVID-19 has had on global economic growth recently. So it states that globally, international arrivals have decreased by 74% in 2020 compared to 2019, which represents a loss of $1.3 trillion in inbound tourism expenditure, more than 11 times the loss resulting from the 2009 global crisis. An estimated 100 to 120 million tourism jobs are at risk because of the pandemic, with a disproportionate effect on women. So as you can see, the pandemic has had a very large effect on this SDG in particular, as shown by the infographic here. So it's obviously resulted in a lot of job loss, decreased travel and tourism, as mentioned in the quote, an increase in youth that is not employed in school or training, and it especially affects those in unofficial employment, youth, and women. So speaking of those who are affected, we'll be talking about our stakeholders next.
For our stakeholder mapping, we broke it into 2 groups of decent work and economic growth. We thought it was sort of easier to tackle it that way. We considered multiple large categories such as employers, customers, employees, policymakers, and then we broke down the stakeholders even more into more categories, but we found out that people are one of the most important stakeholders that connected all of them.
For the systems thinking mapping, it was a process of understanding where we tried to understand how different things influence and affects another things within the whole system. And the three main changes that we took in consideration is obviously the structural, relational, and transformative changes. And one of the main structural changes that we realized that prevented from economic growth or like ensured decent work was the FSLA, which is also the Fair Labor Standards Act, that ensure there's decent work and also any economic growth. So the act basically included prevention of child labor or setting some minimum wages for people to get when they work, or and the other things were to ensure that the employees are paid overtime if they work more than 40 hours, and also the benefits package. So these basic rules or policies helps to ensures a proper work culture, and also ensures that the employees are given the basic necessities. Additionally, the relational change that we uh, thought was the most important and what we emphasized was the background of the person. Either it is their socio-economical background or their access to education or their educational background, and also the location also created a huge impact on how they are able to get work, or also impacts the economic growth as well. And lastly, the transformative change was what we believed was how big corporations with more power to influence the market can impact the economic growth to a huge extent. We talked about how S&P 500 companies have so much power, and how they can also they are the ones that have the most amount of job availabilities in different locations, as they have more budgets and more money. So these were these were our thought processes while we were thinking about or doing these systems thinking maps.
So when it comes to human-centered design and our stakeholder observations and interviews, we really narrowed down on 4 stakeholder groups that we are especially interested in knowing more about. So the first one would be Karma Wallet, our community anchor itself, who is trying to make it easier for consumers to find a company that is ethical and aligns with their goals of where they would like to spend their money. Then we have the rating agencies that Karma Wallet reaches out to and collects data from, so that they know which companies are adhering to those ethical standards. Third, we have sustainable businesses. These are companies that Karma Wallet is hoping to promote through their platform. And then lastly, we have uninvolved businesses that may not even know about Karma Wallet yet, but we could reach out to them in the future. So in our interview with Jayant, we asked him first what future plans he has for the evaluations and scoring process. We were really interested in knowing how he comes up with the scores for each company. And what we found out is that he maps the data he collects from rating agencies to the UN SDGs. And in the future, he's even hoping to break that down further into the UN SDG subcategories for more detailed results. Then we asked if Karma Wallet communicates directly with the companies, and the answer was not yet, but Karma Wallet is beginning to reach out to more sustainable brands. to communicate to them the scores that Karma Wallet had for them, and then ask if they have any additional information that might clarify or make their score more accurate. And then lastly, we asked about this issue of buying sustainable items at maybe an unsustainable place. So if you were to go to an unsustainable business, maybe like Walmart or something, and purchase a really sustainable product, on your credit report that you get as a consumer, it would still list your grade as the Walmart grade, not the sustainable product. So after presenting that issue to Jayant, he informed us that in future years, they actually are hoping to have a receipt scanning system to solve this issue. So it's really interesting to see how Karma Wallet has a very open mind and lots of ideas for how they're going to grow in the future. So for our other stakeholders, for the rating agencies, we are in the process of reaching out to some NC State business professors or graduates that have a lot of experience with B Corporation, which is one of those rating agencies that Karma Wallet uses. And through that, we're hoping to make some more connections to some locally based B Corporation certified companies. Then we also want to connect to some sustainable businesses that Karma Wallet has begun to reach out to. We think that asking them about their ethical standards and maybe their customer demographics would provide us some really valuable information. And lastly, for those uninvolved businesses that maybe don't yet know about Karma Wallet, we want to know what they see as the potential benefits to connecting to Karma Wallet.
So during this process and during our meetings, we're constantly thinking about our empathetic thinking and constantly thinking about how we can better improve on this and how we can better practice this. We're thinking about this in terms of how other companies are doing it. We're researching how other companies are incorporating empathy into their business models. We're thinking about this in our meetings. How can we best support one another? And this is definitely front in mind when we face challenges. So we are definitely thinking about this, and this lab really affected how we go forward. So moving forward, we have some ideas for projects, but it's definitely still a work in progress, and we're definitely still on that problem stage and definitely wrapping up figuring out what that problem is. And so that is our presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
The team pointed out at the beginning of the year that Karma Wallet is actually a for-profit company, and how can a for-profit company be in the middle of social impact work? And we talked about how the sectors are blurring and how important it is to acknowledge the integrity of the work of private businesses in this space. And they're just doing a phenomenal job to really to take that apart. So great job, team. Really proud of your work so far. Okay, next we have our Life Below Water team with team mentor Brian Spate.
Good evening, everybody. I am Brian Spate. I'm pleased to introduce the Life Below Water team. While I won't introduce each individual person, we've got a slide for that, and I'll let them introduce themselves. What I want everybody to keep in mind is just an observation on my part, is that this group is largely a group of engineers, and engineers are trained kind of a typical problem solving type techniques. Usually, step one is always, what is the problem you're trying to solve? And, followed by a list of possible solutions. You develop a plan, you implement the plan, you get results. And if there's a cyclic process involved, you go from results to maybe step two again and list additional possible solutions. Rarely do you have to focus very long and intensive thought processes on what the problem is. It's usually a constant. And for this team, yeah, it's been fun to watch them struggle in the beginning with the problem itself as more of a variable. And so the strength I would like to kind of point out for these, or at least the strength I've seen, is that this team has brought to the table a level of adaptability that is very impressive. And adaptability not only just to be able to change the way of thinking, but to adapt to kind of a new process of problem solving. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what the second semester will bring up in terms of plan development, implementation, and ultimately looking at what the final results will be for our final presentation. But with that, I'll turn it over to Matt and let him start off our presentation.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Brian, and good evening, everyone. As mentioned before, our group's project focus is life below water, and the group is very excited to give an update on the work we've done over the past semester. So with that, let's dive into some introductions. Our community anchor is NC Sea Grant, and my name is Matt Slaughter, and I'm a senior in chemical engineering.
I'm Sindhu, and I'm a senior in ecological engineering and Spanish.
My name is Kendall Zorn, and I'm also a senior in environmental engineering.
My name is Luis Jimenez, and I'm a grad student in mechanical engineering.
My name is Anna Rose, and I'm a senior studying communication media and cognitive science.
Hey, I'm Emma. I'm the senior fellow for the team, and I'm also a junior in wildlife science and plant biology.
And we've met. I'm Brian. I'm the team mentor.
Our project is based around the UN Sustainability Development Goal 14, Life Below Water, which is to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. And some of the topics that fall under this goal 14 include reducing marine pollution, protecting and restoring ecosystems, reducing ocean acidification, as well as sustainable fishing. And we'll touch upon some of these topics later in our presentation tonight. So now I'll turn it over to Cindy with some more information.
Right, so life below water, as with all of the other sustainable development goals, is a problem that requires a lot of systems thinking to address, right? So I wanted to provide you all with a little snapshot of how we addressed our problem at hand. So beginning with our SDG goal, we have life below water is affected by changing marine ecosystems, which in turn affects habitat loss in marine ecosystems. And this is also affected by coastline development, and coastline development also affects how the marine ecosystems are changing. Another thing that affects the marine ecosystems is overfishing, which is a point where we connect back to our SDG goal, since overfishing is a direct impact on the direct human impact that we create on marine ecosystems and life below water. Going back to coastline development, with increased population along coasts, there's also an increased number of plastic pollution, which causes increased atmospheric carbon and other greenhouse gases, inducing climate change, and causing ocean temperatures to rise, which is ultimately one of the biggest things that is changing our marine ecosystems. The use of plastics also promotes excessive fossil fuel use, since plastics are made from fossil fuels, and that in turn also increases atmospheric carbon. Commercial agriculture is also a really big proponent of this pollution factor, adding to not just our land, but also the ocean, since a lot of the chemicals and like fertilizers needed for maintaining commercial agriculture practice often end up in our runoff and water and eventually back in the ocean. And just the land use in general also increases atmospheric carbon, which again, like comes back to show how everything is just connected, and this being just a snapshot, you can see how many different things that you wouldn't even think would affect the oceans that do, like commercial agriculture and increased atmospheric carbon and like things like that that aren't necessarily things that come first to mind when we think about how life below water is affected. So what does NCC grant do to mitigate this sustainable development goal of life below water? So one of the big anchoring points that NCC grant aims to address is community resiliency in the face of climate change or storms and things of that nature. And this is largely related to how quickly things are changing as technology changes and we progress and advance as a society, and we learn more from our research and things. So NCC grant has a really big focus on education and other services that they can provide to the community that is directly affected. And they have things like programs and classes that help address the needs of the community. And then beyond the community, they also focus on planning and adaptations, including through the seafood industry and commercial and recreational fishing. So addressing the fishing industry is a really big part of this, since there's like actually like a commercial and recreational fishermen are often competing for resources, and with increased regulation on things like this is like it only gets tougher. So NCC grant offers classes to bridge this gap, and these fisheries also service the people of the community. So that's another reason why this is all very important to address. And with that being said, this is kind of a difficult feat for NCC grant, being that it is a non-regulatory organization, meaning that it can't enforce these changes into for the community. But that's also why NCC grant and the work that it does is so community oriented, since that's the best outlet for making or creating more lasting change.
So I'll quickly go over our visual map of relationships between organizations and people that influence our problems. So we have the advisory board that employs environmental engineers as well as scientists alike. Both of the engineers and scientists provide solutions to the problem in the division of marine fishery as well as the coastal management division. We also have nonprofit organizations 6 and 7 connecting directly to the NCC grant through natural conservation. We have fishery experts as well as policymakers making influential decisions in our community anchor. So one of the things that I've learned working on this project is the importance of stakeholder mapping, because it includes everyone who is involved in our problem, and it helps us identify the best candidates to collaborate with. And so in our case, for this project, we have identified our best candidates to collaborate with, and they are the ones circled in red. And these are directly connected to the conservation of fishery, which is our project target at the moment. So with that, I'll pass it on to Kendall.
So we all learned about the different phases of human-centered design, specifically inspiration, ideation, and implementation. Right now, we really wanted to focus on the inspiration and a little bit of the ideation phase. So what we did is we individually did different research on the different kind of stakeholders and found different organizations such as the NC Wildlife Federation or the NC Coastal Fisheries Reform Group. And then we kind of combined our research with our stakeholder mapping, and we talked with someone from NCC Grant to just kind of get a better idea of the challenges that they face every day and what we might be looking at in the future. So kind of really what we wanted to get from human-centered design was learning enough to be able to decrease our bias, so that our thinking and problem solving in the future would be more focused on understanding where others were coming from and less of us trying to impose solutions on the people who we might not understand directly.
As our speaker Craig Prince said in our November 9th lab on empathic thinking, empathy is ideally practiced from a place of two people with the intention of sharing and holding space for one another. We really see this viewpoint as both a conscious and holistic integration between federal programs such as NCC Grant or NOAA and the people and fisheries which it serves on a daily basis. The industry of sustainable fishing is increasingly looking towards more integrative population sustaining practices, such as the restoration of collapsed fisheries, hook and line catching, and spearfishing. Among one of the earliest and most pressing issues of the areas of the fisheries industry, which became apparent to me initially, was the respect and care to be enacted by local fisheries and working with local indigenous communities across North Carolina and the United States as a whole, who have been observing these kinds of sustainable practices for thousands of years. Among these that I really focus on are the Haliva Saponi, the Hatteras Nation, and the Chowanak people. Sustainable fishing in the industry as a whole is also essential to the economic health of coastal fishing communities along the North Carolina coast, such as Duck and Corolla, Wanchese, and Southport. Supporting these towns and communities year-round, even as their respective recreational and commercial seasons come to an end throughout the off-season and to the winter, it's an essential part of ensuring that locally sourced, non-bycatch marine resources are made available to those in the immediate surrounding area rather than being shipped en masse in hundreds or sometimes thousands of miles away. And I will hand it on over to Matt.
So where do we go from here, and what is our group's focus for the next semester? Currently, our focus is on redesigning the fishing experience for both recreational as well as commercial fishing in North Carolina. It's also focused on improving sustainable fishing practices. Our largest target group with the project are NC fisheries, and we're also looking to taking account local and state governing bodies, indigenous groups, as well as consumers. And overall, going back to our UN SDG, our main goal is to combat fishing practices that are negatively affecting our oceans, such as overfishing and bycatch. And that concludes our presentation for tonight. Thank you all for your time.
Wow, I love the work that you all have done in Life Below Water. You've taken such an immensely complex and huge landscape and already started to navigate toward a potential project scope. And that's really awesome. And I love what you said, Brian, about our engineering students who are often taught to get to that solution quickly, and how we've held them into this problem discovery space and how meaningful that's been, and that's reflected in their work. So yeah, great job, team. Okay, we are next up with affordable and clean energy with team mentor Jane Rogers.
Hello, I hope everyone is well tonight. I have Elizabeth on standby in case my voice gives out. Earlier, I asked my team, what has this journey done for you thus far? And that's really a personal question because they're going to tell you about where they are in discovery with regard to clean and affordable energy. The things that they told me are these, and they're kind of mixed up in terms of their importance. They clearly see the value in sharing ideas and learning from their team members across diverse backgrounds and disciplines. They're being very bold and open. They're gaining confidence in their roles as leaders and team members. They're coming to understand sustainability in a new way. They're learning a great deal about organizations producing social impact. That's really important to them. Their work thus far has validated where they want to go with their careers and in their personal lives. They're optimistic and passionate about their beliefs in this particular UN Sustainability Development Goal. They readily admit that they have improved skills in planning, in leadership development for the team and individually for themselves. And one thing that they understand is communication is key. Doesn't do any good to know something if you can't share that with others and advocate for your positions. It's been a great time working with this team. I'm like Andrew, I always learn more than I bring forth. It's a wonderful team. It's all women, which is exciting for me. I thank them and I thank y'all for listening to them as they make their presentation. So let's meet this great team. Tatum.
Thank you, Jane. Hi, everyone. My name is Tatum Kellum, and I'm a senior studying biological sciences.
I am Jenny Mangala, and I'm a sophomore studying electrical engineering.
I'm Allison Starling, and I'm a sophomore studying international studies.
I'm Monica Chinta. I'm the senior fellow studying computer science.
Alrighty, so the focus of our work has been United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 7. This SDG seeks to ensure access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. This means expanding energy access, improving its quality, and ensuring sustainable sourcing. It aims to improve the health and well-being of those currently experiencing inadequate electrification. While improving the quality of life for many, it addresses damage caused by traditional electricity production through fossil fuel use.
Our community anchor, the nonprofit All We Are, directly addresses this SDG 7 by increasing access to electricity through clean, renewable energy in rural Uganda. Currently, more than half the nation lives without electricity, creating an overall underdeveloped infrastructure, especially in the education sector. By installing solar panels, AWA provides electricity to schools, thereby increasing student enrollment and retention. This power improves quality of life, mitigates airborne illnesses by switching from kerosene lamps to light bulbs, and enables printing materials for classwork. Clearly, electrification is a path to educational equity in Uganda.
Sarah, your mic is muted.
Sorry. We began by exploring UN SDG number 7 and discovered how vast and vague our problem was. The World Bank reports that 57.4% of Ugandans lack electricity, like Jenny said. Digging deeper, our focus narrowed to understanding how AWA fits into solving this problem. With research, various mapping techniques, and talks with our CEO, this is how we've gotten this far where we are now.
We use system mapping to explore relationships between AWA and Uganda, particularly the developing landscape. We recognize the continuous loop of how lack of affordability contributes to lack of supplies, infrastructure, and development. Additionally, system mapping has showed us the interconnectedness among the SDGs, such as education and healthcare.
We also developed a stakeholder map to examine the factors, organizations, and communities that are dependent on and support AWA. This slide shows a perceptual map using influence and resources as the criteria. Some stakeholders have little influence on AWA and offer no resources, such as the students benefiting from their school's solar panel installations. On the other hand, Rotary is an example of a highly influential stakeholder offering guidance and resources to AWA that enable it to carry out its work. Other highly influential stakeholders include AWA's CEO, Nathan Thomas, and his volunteer leadership team. The stakeholder map is vital when examining social problems related to organizational work, and even more important in determining a solution that satisfies the issue.
We met with the CEO to understand AWA's goals aside from the primary one of completing 50 solar installations by 2025. We also had questions developed in our research answered about Uganda's national power grid and solar powered hardware maintenance. In this discovery phase, truly a light bulb lit up, resulting in our understanding of AWA's relationship with suppliers, local authorities, international entities, and more. Now we can better identify future goals where AWA can direct its attention and how we can assist them.
AWA's business model is unique and human-centered. It utilizes 100% of its donations to fund solar installations. It is led by a management team composed of US volunteers and Ugandan paid staff. AWA works to serve Ugandans with clean, affordable energy. Simultaneously, it works to meet other goals such as employment opportunities, economic benefits, education, and healthcare. AWA allows schools to pay a fraction of installation cost to add more value and create a feeling of buying into the project. AWA has successfully built a model that understands pain points before undertaking a project. It works to tailor every solution to multiple human-centered needs.
Empathy mapping provides a way to visualize collaboratively what we understand about our customer and help them to use the information to prioritize their needs. AWA will complete 50 solar panel installations by year's end, and we are using this information from our meeting with AWA to determine if its future goals should be increasing staffing, bandwidth, more installations, extending funding and partnerships, or increasing human capital. Setting appropriate future goals will help the organization to expand its impact in Uganda and beyond. Uganda lacks access to high quality energy, and AWA needs to complete more installations. Clearly, this requires more financial support, and Rotary Club International is currently AWA's main donor. In order to scale up, it needs to diversify its funding base. Additionally, AWA hopes to have more Ugandan workers to take on their responsibilities and grow their workforce. It would benefit both teams if the Uganda team could function more independently. Lastly, AWA is a new organization formed in 2015. So this means that AWA would benefit from more partnerships in Uganda as well as in the US.
Given the problems identified, we have 3 tentative solutions to explore. Human capital, thus increasing the number of Ugandan workers and also American volunteers. Second is funding, where we can explore ways to diversify AWA's financial resources. And third is increasing employment bandwidth by creating methods for workers and volunteers to be more efficient. We plan to carry all these ideas into next semester and hope to solidify one or more.
Just want to take a moment to say thank you, SIF program and staff. Thank you, Jane and Manansa, team members, program fellows. Thank you, All We Are and Nathan Thomas for sharing your world with us. Thank you, NC State. We believe that our journey will help All We Are and create positive impact on Uganda, its students, and its local communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Team Affordable and Clean Energy. I hope Catherine Wozniak, who's faculty member at College of Design, who joined us for a lab, is listening closely, because I loved that they used some of your stakeholder mapping charts and cues to do their work. And the deep dive you're doing into All We Are is just fantastic. So really, really proud of your work so far. Congratulations. Okay, next up, we have climate action with team mentor Miles Wright.
Well, great. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here tonight and to be the mentor for the climate action group. Excuse me, I'm a little hoarse. I think our report tonight could be best described as unconventional. And I say that, I suppose, ironically, unconventional is one of the traits and skill sets it takes to be successful with social impact work. But we will not have a slideshow, and we will not have what I would call a traditional report out. On the surface, I would say that it could be it could be stated that our group has struggled. We've struggled with a lot of challenges this semester. We've struggled with the broadness of the topic, climate change, and the ability to focus on what is a starting place and a project to begin our journey. I think our group has really felt and struggled, like everybody in the program has, with COVID weariness and figuring out how and where to meet. Our group has really struggled with finding meeting times. We've lost members in the group, and we've not really found our pace and our ability to make this work really start to take off. We've got, like most all these groups in social impact work, in the Social Fellows Program, we've got overcommitted, very high achieving students who have high standards. And so where that leaves us and where we've struggled is that we just really didn't feel like we had the quality and the standards of a presentation that we wanted to put forth in front of everybody else tonight. But I'd be remiss if I didn't point out a couple of things. What is amazing is that through this loss of students and the challenges and the misconnections that we've had through this entire semester, everybody has a sincere desire to keep on and to achieve. And that fact alone makes me incredibly proud of the work and the dedication that this group has had. I would say that one of the lessons that we're going to learn, particularly in the spring, is that the success in this program isn't measured by coming up with the great idea and executing on it. It's all about iteration. You know, one of the superpowers that startups have is their ability to iterate. They can literally be something different tomorrow, or as I've said in many conferences, we can have 10 clients and 10 different business models. That is a superpower that our group understands and recognizes. And so as such, we've decided that we've got to be different. We've got to reboot. We've got to recommit to the work, recommit to the work. And while we have gotten off to a slow start, this group and this project and this work is all about learning. And we've learned a lot about each other. We've learned about the difficulty of doing this work and how to get traction with it. And with that note of appreciation, let me turn it over to some of the students. We don't have any formalized baton passing of who wants to speak, but I did want to give the members of the group, if they want to take it, a chance to say something. So let me run it out to the group and see who wants to contribute.
Thank you, Miles. And thank you for that warm introduction. So there's no slide of my face, but I will just say, hey, everyone, my name is Faiza, and I'm a second-year student majoring in international politics. I know at the beginning of the semester, I said, I don't know where I'm going to go with that major. Still very true. So if I come with a new one, don't be shocked. And I am in the climate action team. The idea of being a part of this team and tackling such an intersectional issue like climate change has been a daunting yet exciting issue because as we've seen with the past few presentations, it encompasses a lot. Although we have not been able to complete as much as we wanted, we were able to start effectively using system thinkings and map and try to center how we not only want to address and understand what climate change means, but how to take proactive measures to take climate action. We discussed what can be done and how it affects individuals from the local, community, legislative, and organizational levels. And we were able to meet with a stakeholder who happens to also be a part of the SIF team, shout out Haley, and discuss how we can effectively do that. And we were also able to meet with our community anchors, Susanna Tuttle, on how to effectively identify stakeholders. Unfortunately, like Miles had mentioned, our group dealt with some loss in members and communication problems throughout the semester, and we were not able to properly present or identify more than what we have. However, I'm so excited for next semester now that we have kind of solidified our team, or three team people. But with the help of Miles and Jada, our senior fellow, I'm really excited to kind of see what we can accomplish as, again, like a solidified group. And I'm particularly excited to bring in more people to brainstorm with. So I'm really excited to kind of interview more people and see what type of stakeholders we can bring in, since, again, climate change is such a big issue.
Yeah, to just jump off of what Faith has said, I just wanted to share something that I am excited about for next semester. When I talked with Elizabeth and Alicia a little while ago, one of the things that I mentioned that I was really looking for with the Social Innovation Fellowship was this sense of community. I used to work for Triangle Land Conservancy for a little bit. And what I really loved about it was that there was this really lovely community that was kind of all centered around just this shared interest in land conservation. And I think part of what got a little bit messed up by COVID was these sorts of sense of community. You know, we're not meeting in person anymore. We're just seeing faces online. We miss a lot of the little interactions and bigger events and things of that nature that really make a community feel real. And I think we're really feeling that now. So I think the main thing that I would really love to take away from next semester, and that hopefully we could get in the spring, is building a little more community just amongst our team, and then just trying to find that sense of community and that shared interest in climate action as we move forward. And I think, as I mentioned, that we can make this actually a really fun experience. Not birthday party fun, not that kind of fun, but I think we can definitely make it fun and enjoyable, and I am looking forward to it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica, and I am a senior double majoring in biological sciences and nutrition, and I'm part of the climate action team. So kind of to go off everyone, this semester has been a huge roller coaster. And I think that towards the end, like wrapping up the semester, I think we're all realizing like all the like challenges and struggles that we've all been through, and kind of recognizing that I guess we're all really exhausted, and trying to find ways to like build that sense of community has been really difficult, like Lauren was explaining. But I think this spring semester, I'm really looking forward to having like a new fresh start, because this whole semester has been very exhausting, and having this break will be very beneficial for all of us to kind of like think our goals and objectives for the following semester. Yeah.
I also did want to say quickly, we also are a all women's team. Miles, we love you. But as for the team members, which I'm really excited for, and I'm really excited for all of us to really get to meet, like Jessica said.
I'll say just very quickly, as their senior fellow, it's been great. It's been difficult, very difficult, but it's also been great. I've kind of come to know each of these people in a really interesting way. I've been in positions similar to this one, but there's nothing quite like being a senior fellow. It's kind of elusive in the sense that sometimes I feel like I need direction to give direction, but that's also just a continuation of the process of being a fellow. I feel it's been awesome. Like just trying to gauge how much to insert myself has been an interesting challenge in being a senior fellow. But overall, I'm delighted to know these people. Like I can't express fully how it is great to get to know them. They really are. I mean, I'm sure all your fellows are awesome, but I think my team is the best. Sorry. But that's all I have to say. Thank you, guys.
I just want to say I just really applaud the courage to be truthful. I applaud and honor the empathy that you're showing with one another. It's one of the skills that we talk about so much in this program, and I see it in action, and I love that. And I think this experience, while you'll tackle climate action in the spring and scope a project and bring something meaningful to the table, what I hear and see among you and the support that I feel is really powerful and really wonderful. And I really honor that. And thank you for your honesty. Okay, we have one last group, and that is responsible consumption and production with team mentor Raj Narayan.
Thanks, Elizabeth, and good evening, everyone. First of all, I just want to say thank you to the prior team for sharing your learning journey with us. This is a learning journey, and we all learn from your experience as well, and I appreciate that very, very much. My name is Raj Narayan. I serve as the Associate Director of the Keenan Institute for Engineering, Technology, and Science at NC State, and a professor of the practice of entrepreneurship in the Full College of Management. Our Keenan Institute has been privileged to be a partner in support of the Social Innovation Program, Fellows Program since its inception. We believe in the power of social innovation, and we remain very grateful to all of you for your hard work. I have the pleasure and privilege of introducing Nyamba James, Noah Retreatus, Pratik Velgapudi, Varunya Karthikeyan, and Zara Pandite to you this evening. They'll share a little bit more about themselves and their majors with you momentarily. What I have found especially compelling about this team is their diversity and the wealth and breadth of the creative ideas and their passion for serving others. They are focusing on what I believe is a truly transformative approach to responsible consumption and production that lays the foundation for long-term sustainable change in our society. This team has a very strong entrepreneurial orientation, and their work is fueled by their interest in making our natural environment more accessible and personally relevant for their stakeholders. They're highly self-directed and work thoughtfully with one another. I believe in the power of this team and look forward to seeing where their journey leads. They are fierce and forward-focused, and I'm pleased to welcome the team to share their presentation with you this evening. It's been a pleasure working with them, and I look forward to seeing where we go. Take it away, team. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Raj. Hi, everyone. My name is Nyamba James, and I'm a senior majoring in sustainable materials and technology.
Hi, I'm Pratik Velgapudi, and I'm a second-year student majoring in computer science.
Hi, everyone. My name is Varunya Karthikeyan, and I'm majoring in international studies and marketing.
Hello, my name is Noah. I'm a master's student at the College of Textiles.
Hi, my name is Zara, and I am a business administration major with a concentration in marketing and a certificate in entrepreneurship.
And we also included our senior fellow, Sky, our mentor, Raj, and Adam and Matt from the compost facility, who are our venture partner.
Responsible consumption and production goal 12 is to ensure sustainable consumption and production patterns globally. Our partner for this goal for the second year is the NC State Compost Facility and Research Cooperative, a campus unit that handles nearly all of its organic waste and strives to provide a space for students, faculty, and community members to better understand the environmental benefits of composting. Our team will be focusing on the Sustainable Development Goal through an education-based lens. For our stakeholder mapping, our team ranked each stakeholder by their level of influence on and importance to our ability to implement an educational program on sustainability in Raleigh primary schools. Under each category, the stakeholders were further ranked by importance and influence. To clarify, the designation for the level of importance is based on whether the entity is directly or or indirectly related to our mission. The stakeholders of high influence and high importance will be the ones that have a direct impact on our ability to execute this program. In addition, these are the ones we will be working the most closely with and who will be involved extensively in our project. It is crucial to note, however, that we aim to have a strong relationship with all of our stakeholders listed. Next, I'll pass it off to Noah.
So when our team was developing our systems thinking map, we wanted to focus directly on K through 12 students and think about how systems affected their ability to compost or make other sustainable practices, normal in their lives. So one aspect were aspects of our society and culture. So consumerism, generational differences, whether it's between their parents or their grandparents, or opposing political views, and of course, capitalism. Capitalism ties directly into the plastic economy, where maybe, obviously plastic is normalized, where you see plastic at grocery stores, plastic, everything. So the cost of compostable products could be a barrier to entry, or maybe the misconception that compostable products are low quality. We figured this ties directly into a lack of education. So this is where we wanted to focus our project this year. And like Raj said, we want to make a transformative change, and we feel that by talking to students, especially connecting with students in middle school or elementary school, we can create long-lasting change. So some aspects of a lack of education could be miscommunication, misinformation, greenwashing, and other challenges that make accessibility hard. So, classism, or whether it's convenience or infrastructure. And next, I'm going to pass it off to my team member.
Hi, I'm Pratik, and I'm going to talk to you guys about human-centered design today. Like we learned about earlier in the semester, human-centered design is an approach to identifying problems and finding solutions that's centered around the human perspective. When thinking about human-centered design for our topic, we first had to frame our design question around the impact we wanted to have. We came up with several questions. First, how can we make sustainability and composting accessible and intriguing to our youth? To do this, we can increase education about sustainability, we can incentivize students to learn about composting, teachers to teach about it, but perhaps the most effective strategy might be to encourage kids to connect with nature and each other to truly understand why sustainability and composting is important. Related to education and youth, how can we create interactive activities for our education systems to educate our youth and future generations on how to compost properly? To do this, we can consult with our educators to create lesson plans that teach children about composting in a way that's interesting to children. One way you could do that is to show cartoons, but maybe another way that is more effective is to integrate activities to help children connect with nature, like maybe helping them plant a garden. While the future generations are important, we can't forget about the older generations. How do we make a logical and emotional appeal to older generations or to those who are disinclined to compost? We can explain how their actions affect future generations, obviously without a condescending tone. We can also make it easier to compost by improving accessibility and infrastructure. Further, we can incentivize people to compost in several different ways, such as economic rewards. We talked a lot about how powerful connecting humans to our environment can be, but we first must consider one important question. Can creating a connection between humans and our environment actually increase sustainable practices? We strongly believe it can, but we'll pass the question off to you all to think about. I'll hand it off to Varunya to talk about empathy mapping next.
Now that we've talked about human-centered design, I'm here to personalize this concept a bit more. An empathy map is a strategy that allows one to think through the emotional process one goes through when analyzing a specific situation. The situation I'm going to be analyzing today is one we've all here probably have been through. When I was in elementary school, the topic of responsible consumption and production first came up, I was a very confused child. In my head, I'd always be thinking, can I recycle or compost this? What even is composting? What can I do to help save the environment? As I grew older, these thoughts became more vocalized in my day-to-day life. I began to question things out loud, and this often sounded a little something like this. What is sustainability? What makes a product compostable? How can I, a little kid, make a big difference? Can I reuse, reduce, recycle this? The sad thing is that these questions never got answered for Little Veridium. This is often the same scenario for primary students all across the world and our nation. These kinds of experiences can often leave one feeling annoyed, overwhelmed, guilty, indifferent, doomed, and/or apathetic. By nurturing these negative experiences and emotions, we have created an endless cycle where our children never truly learn to love and care for the environment they live in. There are many actions we can take and do to break this generational pattern. This includes acting as an inclusive and welcoming role model and educator for our students, teaching techniques to identify sustainable habits from unsustainable ones, creating an educational foundation where our children can connect with the environment in ways they have not been allowed to do so before. By exploring avenues where we can help cultivate love and care for the environment by our children, we are investing in both the future and our kids. This will now be further summarized by my team member, Nyambe.
Awesome, thank you, Verinia. For our project, we have decided to focus on younger generations. We believe that the youth are not adverse to the concept of creating a sustainable world. However, their lack of awareness of sustainable practices leads to irresponsible consumption patterns. By restructuring education, beginning in primary school, with a more sustainability-focused curriculum that includes topics such as composting, recycling, reuse, and sustainable consumption, we will be able to mitigate misinformation and empower an entire generation, in addition to their families and broader communities, to partake in responsible consumption and production. Throughout the semester, we have been able to work closely with our community anchor to identify hurdles to sustainable production and consumption. After touring the compost facility and seeing the copious amounts of contamination, we were able to understand the end result of irresponsible practices on campus. We saw for ourselves how a ketchup packet, plastic fork, and even a stick of deodorant thrown into a campus compost bin ends up having to be filtered out of the compost facility's finished product. Through team meetings and the sharing of ideas, we have been able to fall in love with our problem by identifying the patterns, practices, and hurdles that lead to contamination while simultaneously generating potential solutions that keep our stakeholders in mind. We want to thank our mentor, Raj, Senior Fellow Sky, Adam, Matt, and the entire Social Innovation Fellows team for this opportunity. Thank you.
Wow, great work, team. I love to see all of the lab content played out in real practice. And I'm just so impressed with what you've done with that, especially the empathy work. Really excellent. And you all will receive feedback. We have 3 people who are recording feedback and insights, and we'll give you a written report after tonight's presentation. So I just want to say congratulations to all the teams. I'm so proud of all of you. I can't wait to see what the spring semester brings. We will be back together after the holidays and have a final event at the end of April or early May, hopefully in person. So hopefully we'll all gather again and see what the work where the projects have led and the work accomplished will be. I know we're very short on time, but I'm going to close out by inviting Clare Jordan, who is our chair of our advisory council, to say a few words, and Alicia Bryce will close out the evening for tonight. Thank you again to everyone for joining us.
Thanks, Elizabeth, and thanks everyone for all of your work tonight. You all did a great job. And I tell you, I am not just the chair of the Strategic Advisory Board. That's something I do on the side. What I really do in my work is I work in the social sector hands-on every single day, and I've done it for decades. And for the past 15 years, I have worked at a consulting firm working exclusively with nonprofits. And I have to tell you that what I do in my work is exactly what you all are doing right now. And it's looking with outside eyes at what work is being done and what needs to be done in the social sector. What could organizations do to do what they do better to meet the needs of the world? And as Professor Liu has said in the past, you are the ones who we're depending on to save us from ourselves. Our sector looks to you for your good ideas and insights and your new perspectives on the world. So I just want to preface what I want to say with a thank you for that, for what you are bringing to that. And what that means a lot of times is struggle. It means there are challenges, and it means there are not easy answers. And that's part of the work that you all are doing now, is seeing that exposed in many, many different ways. And you will continue to see that through the next semester. And I think you'll see a big difference in where you are now and where you end up at the end of the spring semester. I can't wait to see all that happen. I'll just say, as an example, 10 years ago, I didn't even know what social innovation was. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, it really wasn't talked about that much. I was new to the board of the Institute for Nonprofits that I later chaired, and learned about social innovation and entrepreneurship really through Elizabeth Benefield and her joining the team there at NC State. And since she has come, this program has received incredible accolades, and you can look it up in the Princeton Review and see the kind of notice that social entrepreneurship is getting and how NC State is being noticed now as well. So I see a very bright future for social innovation fellows at State. You are a keystone program. You are a crowning jewel of NC State. You were on the cover of the alumni magazine not long ago. So just know that this is a big deal for not just you all as students, but for NC State, for the College of Humanities. And as an alum of the College of Humanities, I'm really thrilled that we have our new Dean, Deanna Dannels, with us, and she's a great supporter. I want to say that I support this program not just as an alum, as an English major, but also as a active board member and as a donor to the college, and as a parent. One of my children actually helped start the social innovation program working with Elizabeth, and she now is a graduate of the College of Design, working for Red Hat and doing this kind of work incredibly well every day. And the work she did in this kind of program informs and teaches what she does now in her professional life, as it will for each of you. I know this program will have a big impact on all of you, but my most important role really has been as a parent of a current social innovation fellow. And I will not tell you all who that is, but I will just say that it has exposed me to seeing it in a new light. And I see how much work you're all doing and how much you have in front of you. And just know that this is going to mold and impact who you become. So I just want to say that I support and believe in this program, because this is part of the benefits of what I see in my daily work in consulting with nonprofits. And that what you are doing is hands-on, what NC State is made to do, to create people who go think and do. And not only that, but you all think and do good. So you keep doing it, and just know how much you're appreciated.
Thank you so much, Claire. Those were really amazing remarks. And I hope y'all were listening, because she was telling you what you need to hear, honestly. But also thank you to Dean Dannels for your wonderful remarks at the beginning. I'm going to quickly close by acknowledging the fact that our students have devoted so much time this semester, and now you finally get a break, which is awesome. So like, eat some pie, binge some Netflix, do whatever you want, because this is your time after finals, of course. But also I want to acknowledge our wonderful community of donors, including the Keenan Institute for Engineering, Technology, and Science, the Saul Family Foundation and Mr. Seth Bernard, and also the NC State Entrepreneurship Fund. Our work is supported by a really wonderful advisory council, the Office of CHAS Office of Research and Engagement, and many, many, many campus partners, many of whom you've heard about today. I'm really looking forward to what all of you are going to bring to this spring semester, some really great energy. And yeah, keep talking over the break, keep thinking about what you want to do, and come back with some renewed energy. And thank you everybody who attended tonight. So with that, I'm going to say good night.